trusting this process and also knowing that people aren't making it up. My experience with Kathy Bird, it's a client of mine that's written a book about her experiences. Her 2-year-old son, as soon as he could speak, started talking to her about that he used to be a tall German baseball player. She thought he was making it up or just imagination. Took him to the Dodger Stadium. This kid had a big meltdown when he saw this poster of Babe Ruth, said that this is a really bad guy, really mean. In her session, I was really deliberately asking about lots of trivia information that she couldn't have researched to see if we would hit a wall or she couldn't make it up, or because we did end up exploring her lifetime as Christina Gehrig, Lou Gehrig's mom. She was his mom in that past lifetime, and now again they were together again. Wow. And so she
Ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra JK, ultra. Ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra JK, ultra.
Hello and welcome back to Ultra Minds with JK Ultra. So I'm very excited to speak with my guest this week. And this is someone who is very instrumental on my own journey and in a topic that I talk about so much here on this channel. So you probably don't need much of an introduction to what QHHT is, which is Dolores Cannon's hypnosis method. But we are going to be speaking with my practitioner, who is the person who, when I keep referencing my QHHT session that I went under. So please welcome Jeroen de Wit. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hey. Hi, Jenn. It's so good to see you again. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for practicing my name and getting it out there right. Amazing job.
It took 3 times, which is why there will be a cut right before it.
Okay. Nice.
So I am so excited to get to chat with you. Last time we really got to chat, I just talked for like 8 hours straight between me and my higher self. So I'm glad to get to know more about you this time.
Oh, it's so good to be here.
First, I want to acknowledge that you actually have been doing QHHT for a very long time, and you learned directly from Dolores Cannon. So you are one of the rare few practitioners around that got to in person directly work with her. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience of becoming a practitioner and meeting Dolores?
Sure. So it all started when I was already on my journey. I had this like really difficult spiritual awakening back in the late 90s, and then needed to heal myself first. And then found out that I really love doing healing work and having other people experience the empowerment and authenticity that I was able to access. And then I was at one of my healer practices. A friend of mine who ran this practice, and on the coffee table was a book by Dolores Cannon. It had a little alien on the cover. It said custodians. I was like, what's that? And so I started leafing through it, and I was like, what? Oh my God, this lady talks about stuff that I didn't know I knew about, or it resonated so strongly. So looked her up, and this is when I was still living in Amsterdam. I'm from the Netherlands. This is why my name is such a problem. So I devoured the whole book cover to cover, and then looked her up, found out that she was teaching in the Netherlands 3 months away from the moment I picked up that book. So I signed on. This is back in 2006, and was in this tiny little class in The Hague in like an American bookstore, a little back room. And, I had read like by the time like 12 of her books. I just devoured them all.
Gosh.
So I was totally like fangirling over her. I was like, I could not believe that I was in the presence of this amazing lady. And, it was so inspiring because, as a Dutch person, like knowing America through the media, I just thought she looked like a white church lady with a little perm and everything, and the way that she dressed. And then, she talks about all this expansive, universal, galactic stuff with such groundedness and confidence, which is really helpful because, being born in 1971, growing up in the Netherlands, there was nothing around me that really reflected back to me who I found myself to be on the inside. And so she was a big reflection of that. It was very confidence building for myself to be in the presence of someone who was just out of the closet with all that weird woo-woo stuff. So, and I also realized in her class that this was the very first time, and this was when I was in my early 30s, very first time that I was in a learning type or school type of environment where I'm actually interested, I was just thrilled and excited. It was the first time in my 3 decades being on the planet where learning was actually fun. I was so locked on target. I was just absorbing all of her like through my pores. And then after the class, I just couldn't wait to get started. I was not confident in my practicing it, but I knew that I knew how to do it because she taught me a technique. But yeah, it was beginning was just kind of like awkward, but then it was such a light went up inside of me, like, oh my God, I do have a home on this planet. I can do this work. I can explore consciousness and explore, who I feel myself to be. Listening to the telepathy tapes, I'm sure you're familiar. I became aware that I've always been more consciousness based rather than a materialism based person. I've always experienced life as consciousness first, as energy. So not seeing that around me for a long time, and then finally getting to do this amazing, QHHT work, it really helped me to not only help so many, like thousands of people, but also to like recover my own beingness, being on the planet in systems of thinking and doing that really do not acknowledge, this way of being. So that was my little rant about how I got to be able to do this stuff. Yeah, and I've been doing it this is my 19th year. Wow. I think I'm the longest practicing student of Dolores, as far as I know. So yeah, I'm just.
Wow.
This is what I do. This is my gig.
Oh my God. I love it. And so beautiful. And imagine how many people you've helped that you will never even see, how you impacted them and what continues. So it was funny, our reconnection, because we had done the session and then, with QHHT, Dolores kind of says in the training, like, it's kind of one and done. It's not one of these things that you keep coming back. Of course, you can do it as many times as you feel called to. But you get what you need from your higher self at that moment. And it's not an ongoing thing unless you want it to be. And so, I parted ways from that session. And then next we connected was maybe a year later at Disclosure Fest, where I was
Vegas,
speaking
right?
about Dolores Cannon.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was so funny because in that talk, I was talking about my experience and talked about my session with you and how that really allowed me to, at that time I was working in a restaurant. And when it came up that I was going to be helping people in this way, I'm like, how is that going to happen? Like, I can't even fathom. And sometimes stuff will come through from your higher self that is sounding so big and sounding so difficult and sounding so grand. And then 1 year later, after that session, where you connect again in Vegas, and I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, like, yeah, I'm doing it now.
So crazy. Not crazy, but just like amazing to hear. It's true. I don't always hear back from people. So it's always so wonderful. Like, I think I remember running into you in like the hallway and you said, yeah, I remember my higher self said this in my session and this is what I'm doing. I was like, oh my God. It's so affirming to find out about. Especially when, I get to be in a place where I get to help people tap into their sourceness, their authenticity, and then see, how it ripples outward. You have such a big, beautiful platform informing people about this, like helping them think and informing them all these like different things that we didn't know about. So this is amazing for me to see.
Oh, so, I also do QHHT. I actually had learned it before I had ever gone under. So I had already put other people under by the time that I had come seen you. But because I learned online, I didn't get to be put under at that point. So I'm actually, with the way that I learn, I actually was glad that I really knew the method and saw that it worked and that's so shocking the first time you put someone under and you're like, it really works.
Yes. Right.
And then to experience it. So I wanted to ask you about kind of your experiences of being the one put under, so what are some things how was that for you in the beginning? And also, do you still get put under?
Yeah. Yeah, my last session was with Sarah, who you know as well. Yeah. So, yeah, I love getting put under. So, I mean, it's been going back so long. I think the first time was maybe in 2012 before I met another practitioner. I was in the same space. And so, yeah, I've uncovered all kinds of different lifetimes, from the very mundane to the galactic. The last one with Sarah was very transformative, and I didn't know it until about a month after the session. I tapped into a life where I was a Pleiadian being, and I was on a space, like a space station, and I was there with other types of beings, and we were all going around the universe, like helping planets evolve. And I was really experienced in working with emotional energies and grid systems. So I would go down. I found myself down on the planet, kind of walking the grid system and kind of like spiritually Febrezing them, like like upgrading them. And I had gone into the session with the question of like, why does it seem like I am, I see people around me like connect and create community, and my space is very small. Like there's only a few people, and I don't seem to like be able to like maintain like intimate relationships with people and do collaborations and stuff. And it's like, it's bad for business too. Not, it's also kind of lonely. So I asked about it. And so what I found out is that I have this like very sensitive sort of spiritual equipment inside of me, where I'm working with the grid systems now here as well, which is typical for a second waver. And that people energy can be a little bit abrasive to me. So, and it kind of makes sense, because my life now, I do this working with people, and it's very focused, and it's like a really special container that we find ourselves in. And then all I want to do afterward is like snack and go to like Ojai and jump into creeks and be in nature, to kind of like recharge myself and kind of clear out. So yeah, that's what I found out. And the Pleiadian stuff had come in before, but also like very like normal human experiences, like very, like as Dolores calls it, like digging potato kind of stuff. Yeah.
So lately, in the last maybe couple years or whatever kind of sticks out to you, is there any pattern that you're seeing coming up in a lot of your clients lately? Could this be like certain things that they're connected to, or even certain topics, or certain, doesn't even have to be like a big galactic topic. It could be like kind of something that's coming up. Do you notice a pattern recently that's coming up a lot?
Yeah, there have been like waves of people coming in, like different topics. Like last year was all about like recovering the witches, like the people that have been burned at the stake and stuff, and that are now back here now to help people reconnect with nature. And I was just thinking about it. This year so far has been, I mean, it's self-love has always been very important, but this is what's coming in right now. And this is really what I think the awakening is about. For people, this is really the theme now for people, wherever they are in life, to reconnect with their sourceness. And yeah, that's being brought in, throughout the different sessions, not just the galactic ones, but also the very mundane ones. But that theme has been coming up so much in, in very similar ways through the different clients. Like they are told like, love yourself. And then, of course we all know how to do that. It can be so abstract to a lot of people. So I always ask about like, how does this client do that? What is she supposed to do? And then the first thing is usually, well, she's got to slow down. And then I ask, well, what does that look like, slowing down in her life? Well, it means when she wakes up, don't open her phone, take a moment to breathe, get some tea or coffee, look out the window, see if there's trees, look at some green stuff, play some really relaxing music or something that inspires you. If meditation is part of the practice, then that'd be really good. And then take those moments of checking in throughout the day, like how do I feel in the midst of my busy life? And then to focus on joy as much as you can. It might sound really superfluous in a life that is driven by productivity, but it's a really, easy and direct checking in with who you're here to be. So to find the things that motivate you out of joy and to do as much of it as you can and to really make your own needs a priority. Oh, that's a theme that's been coming in a lot. Yeah, overgiving a lot. Yeah. So I get to work with people because I've had that experience myself of people pleasing and overgiving, compensating for a sense of unworthiness. And so that's been, I would say, that's the theme underneath what I was just talking about. To stop this fucking overgiving, you know, like as a way to buy into safety or value or worthiness, and to give that space to yourself first by doing those practices that I just mentioned, to really make your own inner life the priority. You know, this has been my lifelong journey, and in turn, I get to help other people to do this. Excuse me. Yeah.
And, you know, it's really interesting too that, you know, you said that you've dealt with it as well, because I do feel that with myself and other people who do QHHT, there's also like this kind of magnetic pull of people who have similar stuff going on or similar things that are coming up in their life. They will also find like practitioners, even in some, you know, more galactic type of levels too, people who have certain connections to certain things. I've heard from some other people like almost all of their sessions are like with these blue beings, and all these blue beings are coming through everybody's session. And then for me, you know, like a common theme is like Library of Alexandria. Like all of these people keep coming up Library of Alexandria stuff. And so I was wondering if one of those kind of more fun out there themes, like if you were to write a book about one of these themes that come up, what would that topic be?
Mm-hmm. Like in terms of like for me, like
Yeah,
what
like,
resonates with me or who I am as a person.
well, from things that have come up in your clients, like how Dolores had these types of topics that come up throughout, and then she kind of wrote a book about those topics. Is there some topic like that that
Yes.
you feel you've uncovered a lot of information on that's not really out there yet?
I don't know if it's not out there yet, but for me, because I have such a wide experience with all these galactic beings in different, not only shapes and forms, but also different ways of interacting with Earth currently, with humanity currently, but also throughout history. So, my book that I'm writing is about humanity's galactic involvement. You know, it's the way it's coming into our consciousness right now is this very other, like it's this other type of being that's coming to planet Earth and disclosure and all of that. Like it's really other, but it's really, I mean, we are part of, you know, our souls are part of a galactic community, and many of us here now are bringing in much of their galactic experiences in order to elevate the consciousness on the planet. So, and to describe all the different ways that we are already galactic, like our DNA is made up of all these different star beings. We have been seeded. The planet has been seeded with life, and the watchers have been there to, you know, kind of like make sure it's all going okay. We've had several resets that were deliberately done, and then life was restarted by all these galactic beings for different purposes, different agendas. So it's not like we're just like this petri dish being on Earth, you know, that is just completely evolving on its own, like, you know, but we've been part of galactic agendas for a long time and still are. Yeah, not only physically, genetically, but also spiritually, like our soul. So that's what I want to do to make this whole alien concept less weird and scary, and to know that we're already like swimming in the soup of it. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm a big believer that, you know, sometimes the topic of the galactic starseed stuff becomes very other, and it becomes very external, and it's very much an internal experience. And that's kind of, I think, you know, sometimes people are kind of like, oh, I'm going to go back to this other planet. It's like, well, you are wherever you are. It's going to be you
Yes.
no matter what planet you're on. Like it is still you and your soul. So I love that concept of kind of bringing it more to the self versus this outside force.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but like having done this work for so long, my sense of identity has shifted. to where I really feel like I am an eternal being, you know, like just as all of us. And so I often find myself like in total wonder and like giddiness about like Earth, you know, and all the variety of experiences are here. Not only the beauty, the immense beauty of the natural world, but also when I'm like looking at a very specific like cat meme on Instagram or something, it's like, where the fuck else but Earth, you know? Kind of like, can we laugh about this shit because of all the different layers of like cultural layers, but also like humor and like how we are as humans. It tickles me. It's just fascinating.
I so agree. I actually went to a haunted house a couple weeks ago, and I left that, and it was a very scary haunted house. Like, it was like, one that they set up for Halloween. And I was like leaving that like, wow, creation. I mean, I'm like, God's creation is beautiful, but humans' creation? This is so fucking awesome. Like,
Right?
the things we
Yes.
make. It's so
Yes.
cool.
So cool. I mean, art is all art is just, you know, such a beautiful expression of the specificity of our experiences here and the combinations that we make. It's so fun.
It really is. Okay, so do you find that one thing, and I kind of have a certain way that I kind of guide people through it, but first I would like to hear your take on it. There's a lot of people who believe that they have aphantasia right now, and a lot of people who believe that they are not able to see. But I find all of them are very vividly seeing once they release and let go, and once they go under are actually super good, like almost astral travel professional type of level. So what is your experience with people who believe that they're not able to like see in their mind's eye, and then once they go under?
Yeah, it seems to be really easy. You know, I've worked with people that were actually diagnosed with aphantasia. You know, it's really about acknowledging the interconnection, or how this functions for us individually. So for some people it is very visual. For others it can be a combination of visuals or feeling or knowing, or even auditory like connections is also possible. So I mean, with QHHT it's always kind of like gauging where a person's strength is, but you know, after a while it seems like everybody is able to like come up with the imagery once they've been acknowledged or seen in the way that they connect to their inner world. Once that's been, you know, brought into confidence, then it seems to be easy. Yeah, I had a woman who really, like, we had tried many times, or like she'd come to group sessions, and then when she came in for a private session, I mean, not just, but it was a bit of a search to find how she connected to her inner realm and how to talk about it. But that when it happens, yeah, it's not like you can't do a session because you are connected. You know, it's just kind of, it can be a bit of a search to find it.
So one of the things that I find, is probably, at least in my opinion, one of the biggest things to overcome in a QHHT session for each person is doubt. The doubt of whether, is it really my higher self? Can I really do this? Am I really capable of getting this information? Will it really speak through me? And then obviously your conscious mind is alive and well throughout. So then you have throughout moments of that left brain, of those beta brain waves peeking in and saying again, wait, would that be me? Am I really under? Am I? And so I really like over explain in the beginning, like, trust me, no matter how many times I tell you you're going to feel this, you're going to feel it, and you're going to have doubt, and you're going to do these things. And I'm like, I just need you to put it aside. If it comes up, allow it for a moment and then put it aside again. And also too, like, it really builds people's confidence in their ability to retrieve information, because
Yes.
what I think is so beautiful about this method is that you're able to get the information yourself. I feel like it's one of the biggest confidence boosters in your spiritual journey, because it's not asking a psychic, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's
Yeah.
not going through someone else's filter. And it's so beautiful to see people get empowered to hear their own higher self.
So beautiful. Yeah. And from my experience of it myself, it feels so intimate. Like it feels like I'm really in my own inner space, and it's just so delicious for me. And you know, for the other people as well, to know that you are this vast being and that you are connected despite, all the external noise that is around us all the time. It's to me, it's so empowering. It's really beautiful.
And so I was just recently at Monroe Institute and I was speaking to one of the researchers there, and he had kind of explained, and again, all of these different modalities are doing similar things. QHHT is similar to a shamanic journeying, is similar to Monroe Institute, is similar to astral travel, is similar to remote viewing,
Akashic
all of
records, right?
yes, Akashic records, exactly. Like they're all kind of doing different entryways of the same type of thing and
Mm.
different modalities. And so at Monroe Institute, because they have all of this technology to really monitor the brain waves and to make conclusive statements about it, something that was explained to me there, which I really like, not only made it click the QHHT for me, helped me to explain to other people was, they were kind of saying that like beta brain waves are kind of like, up here, our thoughts. And then when we go into alpha, that alpha is more of a sensory experience, which is why when, someone first starts going under, we're really asking for those details and them to go into those details because those details is what gets them into alpha through a
Oh,
sensory
wow.
experience. And then it's emotion that brings them into theta. So
Oh,
when we think
wow.
about these past lives, right? Someone is
Yes.
first thinking, overthinking, can I do it? And
Yes,
then
yes,
they're
yes.
instructed to visualize. What do you see? What do you smell? What is this? What is the more they get into the sensory experience, it creates the bridge. And then that's when people kind of start going into the more emotional experience of the past life, where
Yes.
then they're like, I think this is my husband, or I think this is my child, or I
Right, right,
think,
right.
and then that's when that breaks through to theta.
Wow.
And they've discovered that connection and that this sensory, and it's just incredible how Dolores brought this through without all of that
Incredible.
technology,
I know,
without the
yes.
brainwave scans, and
Right,
that
right,
she
right.
created this method that completely aligns with their research and
Wow.
everything else. And so I thought that was like also a really good way to explain to people is that like trust in this, kind of lean into the details, lean into the sensory, because once you get to the emotion of it, then that's when the theta and the full information can really
Oh,
come
I
through.
love that. Thanks for sharing that. That's amazing. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna add that to my guide.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
and it comes back to like, I mean, which comes up in so many different things, right? We have our kind of third eye, but really once you connect with the heart, there is that same type of now I can see it's theta brainwaves, what's happening when the heart gets connected. So
Yes.
it's really interesting. Again, all of these different modalities come back to the same thing and how they came through different people in these different ways.
And how amazing is it that we live in a time now where this access to those modalities is like expanding exponentially. Like, again, being born in 1971 in a small town in the Netherlands, there was nothing, it was like a dusty church, but there was no talk about anything like it. And it's funny that you mentioned the Monroe Institute because that was actually my first contact with another world. My mom used to be a librarian in this little town, and I had read all the fantasy and science fiction for kids. And then I started just sneaking books off her nightstand. And one night I found this book about out of body experiences by the Monroe Institute. And I read it, I was 8 years old, read it cover to cover. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And this is really, it felt like truth to me. So I asked my mom
Wow.
about it later, like, hey, do you remember that you got that book? And she goes, no, I would never get that. That is nothing that I'm interested in. I was like, wow, interesting. It just kind of appeared. Yeah.
It's incredible the seeds that are planted in our lives earlier.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like 10 years old, 14 years old, this like book appears or this message appears or this information appears. And it kind of just stays in our mind forever. Like, oh, that thing that I came across. And then it's just beautiful, like a story that is more beautiful than one that we could ever write with
Yes.
fiction of
Yeah.
how life unfolds.
Yeah. Did you do the gateway process or did you like take
I
remote viewing?
did. I
How was
did, and
it?
it was incredible. Oh my goodness. It was incredible. And it really did help my experience with QHHT and my experience with the Silva method because
Mm.
actually there was when you go to these different focus levels, there's a focus level 15, which is outside of time and space. And I was able to kind of, with my experience of the cloud, of going on the cloud, I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring the cloud here to help me get somewhere. And so it really assisted me. And then I actually got to go to the Library of Alexandria and see it
Oh,
outside of
yes.
time. It was incredible. Like and
Wow.
what I saw was, I got to experience kind of it being, which again comes back to, as we know in Dolores's books, her past life was in Library of Alexandria that she shared, where she was a little boy who couldn't save the information, and she had this guilt, and that's why she wrote these like 17, 18 books that are this big, because she was bringing back all the lost information. And I don't believe it was my past life. I think I just observed it through somebody else while I was at
Mm,
Monroe.
mm,
And when, they were coming in and burning it down, which has come up in several of my sessions as well, different people who had this experience in Alexandria, which is what made me want to go there. Cause I'm like, this keeps coming up for me.
wow.
So I got to experience it kind of like being burned down and all of the information. But what was so crazy is from that man's perspective that I was experiencing through, he was actually happy because he was like, "Oh, great. We get to start over and do it all over again, and we get to learn it again, and the game gets to continue and all of the information." And as they were burning it, he's like, "It's okay. Information can't be lost. No
Wow.
information could ever be lost.
Wow.
And we just get to play the
That's
game
so
of figuring it
expansive.
out again." And I was like, "Ugh, like, so incredible." And there was a couple of things like symbols and things that have come up since then. So it's like a really nice tool to also add in of another way of expansion. Although what's beautiful about the QHHT is the personal experience of being guided with the facilitator. And I think that's what makes it
Right.
because then you can kind of dig deeper into questions, and then you have someone like, I know when I did the session with you, even listening back to the recording, there's a lot of questions that you asked that I'm like, oh, I'm glad that he like followed up on that and went deeper into that. So it helps to have also that kind of inquisitive mind,
Yeah.
being able to ask those questions. But again, it's like a
I,
similar type of experience.
it is. I'm curious, like, did you find out why Alexandria keeps coming up in your, perceptual field?
I haven't got a conclusive answer. It's interesting that the clients that have that come up, they always bring up some type of contract with me, which is interesting because, I never would ask if I have, because it's, as you know, it's a neutral space for that
Yeah.
person. So I would never ask, but it's interesting that those types of people that bring up the Alexandria thing, they're like, oh, there's something with
With
you,
you.
Jenn, that I have with you. So I don't know. And actually, the first time I held a group, my best friend went to a past life of Alexandria. So
Holy
it's
shit.
very
Yeah.
interesting, this kind of connection to it. And then, of course, Dolores having that past life there is another thing, which if it wasn't for her having that past life there and losing that information, she might have never created QHHT in this reality.
Right. I mean, I'm wondering, looking at you, like doing all this amazing work that you do, kind of recovering hidden knowledge or making it known. I'm wondering if there's a similar thread for you. I was wondering, if you had uncovered anything like that. Yeah.
Well, the last couple times that I've gone under was with Sarah as well, but it was for, one time we did it, we streamed it, and then another time we did it on YouTube. So those ones we asked more collective questions, which was so
Yes.
fun. Oh my God.
Yes.
It was like so fun. But it wasn't really past life or things like that. So there's always more to uncover.
Yes. So fun. Yes. I'm always
So I
so
want to
like giddy.
I
Go ahead.
know, they're getting the information. I wanna ask
Yes.
you kind of about the past parallel life stuff. So has your perspective on these things changed over the years from your initial understanding of past lives to how you feel about past lives now after nearly 2 decades of this work?
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, it was just like, past lives are in the past. It's history, it's like this linear concept. But yeah, now it is like, I mean, calling it past lives is just like for marketing purposes. because then people have something to relate to. But it's really, I see it as like parallels or other expressions of the soul or oversoul. It's more like, I mean, it's, to put it in human words is so hard. I don't think there is separation as much as there is in the words that we use to try and describe it. But I think we're more or less individuated parts of source that decide to have all these expansive experiences by splitting off into all these different experiences. And, you know, it's only on in the 3D that we have the construct of time and space. And so when we're in it, you know, it's like very real, but as an oversoul, it's just like, it's happening in the now, there is no time. So yeah, that's how I've grown to kind of, this is kind of the model that I have in my head when I do the work. Yeah.
Right. Same. And I kind of have started to wonder, and you know, I'm in a very like paradoxal type of my journey right now, where kind of everything has been flipped on its head and all the beliefs that I have are now like half truth. And I feel like I'm, you know, the quote, the more I learn, the less I know. That's very much where I'm at in my journey right now. And I'm enjoying it. And it's
Right.
so fun to kind of relearn and unlearn and explore things through new eyes. But one of the things that, you know, I've been kind of taking in, and of course, when I go into a session, I'm like, okay, if you believe this is a real past life that help benefits you, great. If you believe that this is a symbolic life, you don't need to decide today what any of this means. You just need to
Right.
experience it. But
And this is for you,
my
you mean, or for your client?
for the client, basically,
Okay.
like whatever they need to accept of what this is, if it's a
Right.
symbolic life, if it's a real past life, if it's they're tapping into an Akashic records, I'm like, whatever is okay for you is what's benefiting you. But for my perspective, I actually have kind of come to the belief that it's a mirror of now, and it's just like a different version of now, and it's sometimes easier for us to see what we are doing and what we're experiencing through this mirror of another character, and that
Definitely.
it's all kind of this collective from the Akashic records. It's almost like, oh, okay, well, this story is just like this story. So let them see that. So it's easier for them to be removed from it.
That's amazing. Yeah, that is really kind of a very profound way of describing, or kind of what I feel like it matches what I just talked about, but it's really
Right.
like that because, you know, a lot of sessions, people are going into lives where they might have been like a tribal leader or elder person, and they're very wise, and they're like a medicine person, and they're very revered and respected. And this is something that they're going through in this current lifetime. And then being met with this sense of confidence or knowing that you've done this before.
Mm.
Or like the opposite, like so many sessions where somebody goes back to a life like on the prairie where, you know, there's just a little shack, there's no one else there, and they're totally living by the rules of their husbands and religion, and they come out of it and they go like, that wasn't very fun, you know, to live life by the rules of others. And then there being a sense of that in this current lifetime, and then learning like, oh shit, like a mirror, I'm doing a version of it again, but now I have
Mm.
all these options. So why not choose the things that make me happy? Yeah. Is that
I
what you mean?
totally agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that because that's more my experience of past lives. I haven't done like an actual past life regression in a while. And when I've done them, I've had these like all of those types of lives where I'm like, oh, well, thank God I don't have to do that anymore. Like, thank
Right.
God I can do whatever I want now. And I
Right.
have the freedom now. So that had been my experience of a lot of past lives, but then also kind of seeing once you get to ask someone's higher self, why did you show that to them today? And then that answer is, and I mean, talking to the higher self, I mean, it's the most beautiful, simple, but complex at the same time thing that anybody could ever say. It's like, so I want to ask you about that kind of, you know, of course it's amazing, but with more detail, like, what is your experience of talking with all these different people's higher self? What do you most love about it?
Yeah. I mean, they can be sounding very different. So I've had a few times where there was kind of like a potty mouth higher self, which was my very favorite. You know, it came a lot of curse words and stuff. Um, And then, of course, the times when the voice changes so drastically, drops an octave, and then the diction or the cadence is very different. And also, especially when the jargon or the vocabulary like changes completely, and it goes into like quantum physics and stuff that a mom, like or a person that is just focused on very different things in their life would not have known about, and all this like very detailed scientific information rolls out. That's super fun. Or, I mean, was this a higher self? Or maybe like alien beings coming in, and and they sound robotic, or there's like you can see that they're struggling with their words, and or ask them what their language is, and it's like click sounds or like other things. And but yeah, it's super fun. I mean, of course there is the sense of like awe of like speaking to this very loving space within a person, that of course lives in us, lives in me as well. And so to be in that space, it's so affirming, of the love and the that life is always happening for us, that even if it would say something like, oh, they're kind of off their path, but they're still learning from it, or most of the time people are hearing that they're on their path even if they don't feel like they are. But it's so affirming and loving and gentle and connecting. Yeah, just so affirming of this knowledge of being in this space where we're really held in this ocean of love, really. And that life is a game or simulation. And I'm not saying this to like bypass the reality of while we're in here, but to know that there is a purpose to it. It's not just like we're not random, like just like thrown on the planet, like here, figure it out. There's really, we are all source experiencing itself to expand. And after this experience, whatever it may be or wherever it may go is done, there is more adventures. We are eternal. We're not stopping. It's not like this is our one and only go at it, so we have to nail it or get it right. It's more about being in the moment, and for me and my clients, to explore and recover all the bits and pieces of the sourceness that we carry within us, and it's often the parts that are not acknowledged by our peers, our society, our culture. The people that are interested in this kind of information, they're usually they come with quite a big load of otherness, from other planets and other places that they here to anchor and bring in. It's different dimensions.
Wow.
Did it
It's
answer your
so
question?
true. Oh yeah. It's so true. And it's like, yeah, the ocean of love is really what I think is what I appreciate the most, like in that energy. That it's just like this constant, like, you're doing great. Even if you're off your path, like you're fine. Just don't judge yourself. Just take the steps. And it's just like so supportive. And it's this constant assurance, like you're not alone. You're always supported. You're
Yeah.
always loved. You are doing great. This is the lesson. This is the purpose. And another thing that I kind of find to be like the humor of the universe and creation is sometimes when we ask, like, what is this person's kind of greatest lesson that they're meant to learn in this lifetime? It's always the thing that they have, that when you listen to their life story in the beginning was the thing that caused the most trouble. And it's almost like the comedy of creator, because it's like for example, one person, her greatest lesson was to like learn to be free and to learn to be liberated. But then we listened to her whole life story, and it was like in the most restrictive lifestyle, in the most
Yes.
restrictive religion, in the most restrictive neighborhoods. And it's
Right.
so interesting that, like, to hear what is your greatest lesson that you're meant to learn is
Yes.
oftentimes the thing that has caused you the most strife and the most pain. And it's like, oh, Well, damn, then I guess I'm doing pretty good if that was my greatest lesson.
Right? Yeah, I'm right on track. Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's what people are told most of the times. Like, how, because most people come in with the question, what is my life purpose? Am I on the right path? And so most of the time they're told, yes, they're on the right path, or, there's a little bit of, stuff to work on, but they're basically on it because they're going through the problems that they're going through. I remember because, we often hear these lofty sort of, what is my life about? It's about loving yourself, or, raising the frequency of the planet in the current lifetime. But I just got to think about this one session that I did, this person who came in from a restrictive culture, especially regarding sex and sexuality. He's gay. And so he felt really bad whenever he masturbated. Like, there was this big shame that came over him. And so he goes back to a life where he is an angel, sort of looking at Earth with this longing. And I asked him, like, what about Earth makes you so long about it? And it says, all the experiences, the sensory experiences that you can have, and then goes into this lifetime where my client describes himself, this like voluptuous woman, this red hair, somewhere in like Ireland or Scotland. She lives in this little cottage, and and there's the question, like, so find yourself doing whatever it is that you do with the majority of your time. And so my client's laying in front of me, and I see his like face frown. He goes like, I'm in bed. And then I go, oh, so what is that about? Like, being in bed? What are you doing in bed? And he goes, I'm having sex, a lot of it. And I'm just like, oh, is this your job, or is this how you make money? It's like, well, I mean, they give me things, but it's really because I love having sex. I love it. Turns out this woman, she was strategically living in like the main like thoroughfare, or the main like road that would come like slightly outside of the village. So she had like an influx of like fresh meat to fuck. I was like, what time are we in? Like, how does the village respond to this? Are they going to murder you and like kick you out of the village? But there was no Christianity, or, it was not that time. So I asked the higher self later, like, what was that life purpose about? Like, and the angel went into that lifetime to learn about pleasure, and, and to give my client now the experience, like the pleasure of it, like the joy of it, like how a life without judgment about this was. And, for him to like just merrily masturbate. It's so random and so fun, it's like it's so unexpected. It just makes me, I'm a Gemini, and like I don't like routine, so whenever weird things happen, I go like, yes. Yeah.
So, it's interesting. I really do think that some of the biggest healing that comes is from the perspective shift. Like, something like that is the perspective shift. Sometimes people come in kind of unsure what type of healing will happen, maybe thinking that it's more of a miraculous healing, which is possible, of course. But I find, at least in what I've experienced, is that the biggest healing comes from the perspective shift of like that thing that has just been in their mind or in their heart of guilt or confusion is just like eased. Oh,
Yes.
that's it. This like simple perspective shift, like, yeah, pleasure. Duh.
Yes.
Of course. And then it's just like, and I just think that that is like one of the beauties of this work too, is that like perspective shift of like, oh, sure. If you want to enjoy the body, you can enjoy the body if you want.
Yes. You're so right. It all makes me think like how, I mean, our reality, I think, is really perspective based, like how we interpret or experience it or even create it. It's all based on our perspective. So I think you're hitting the nail right on the head. Like when you say it is really about perspective shift that creates a different reality. It really feels different. Yeah.
And especially with the family stuff, because obviously, a part of the QHHT is going through the person's life story, and many people, are obviously impacted by the life that they've lived. And that's what I find is so healing. Sometimes like people with like coming from families that they have a lot of trauma from, then that perspective shift on why they chose that family or what they were meant to learn, or sometimes even just that person is struggling and that's the best that they can do. And it just like shifts the energy, very similar to like a family constellations type of thing.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. In those sessions, I find it often, or when that's brought into like a regression, like they might have gone through a past life and then they come into this lifetime and, oh, I am, a girl, I'm a baby and I've just been born. And, what I ask, like, what is, when you look into the eyes of your mom, what do you see there? I was like, and oh my God, she loves me. There's so much love. And they start crying and everything. And then even though the relationship later was not good, but to know that this person loved them, did the best they could with the severe limitations that this parent person might have had in their life. But that can be so healing, just like you said. Yeah, it's
Right.
really
And the
beautiful.
generational stuff too, like getting to like ask what cycles are they breaking generationally? What ancestral wounds are they healing?
Yes.
I've had some people come up with like around hysterectomy stuff, around not having babies, around things like kind of ending lineages as well, has been
Yes.
like a really big healing theme that I've seen. Do you have stuff with that come up as well?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. This so that to I had, yeah, exactly the same thing. Like people that were that had like uterine problems. Yeah, for that reason. Or I can't think of any specific sessions right now, but yeah, resonate with that totally. Yeah, that
Right.
ancestral lines are being broken, or that they're clearing it in this lifetime by taking on like a generous heaping. Is that how you say it? Of
Mhm,
it,
mhm.
by experiencing a lot of it and then clearing it for the whole lineage. That comes
Right.
in. That comes in a lot.
Yeah, I've seen that with, like, endometriosis, PCOS type
Yes.
issues where they
Yes.
say that this is, like, all this pain and stuff that women from their lineage were not able to feel, that it
Yeah.
wasn't like they didn't have the space for it. And then, there's kind of also a lot of times in those questions, I kinda ask, like, "Okay, well, this is a lot of pain to bear, or this is a lot of cleansing to bear. Like, is it okay if like the lineage could do this in another way? Or is it okay if Mother Earth can purge in another way than through this person's body?" And usually the higher self is like, okay, now that they're aware of it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I mean it's interesting because like it doesn't always say like, okay, sure, it's like no, they're on a path of they really wanted to learn how to do this. And so then you got to like try and, diminish the symptoms or change their perspective on it, see what can be done, or yeah, that it can get really interesting. Like it's really amazing how in some sessions everything is like cleared on the spot, and then other sessions like, no, she really wants to do this. So is there any help possible? Well, we can like change your beliefs about it, or or diminish the symptoms a little bit, or stuff like I had a woman with like lupus. She was experiencing lupus, and I forgot what the reason was of the lupus, but I asked, well, can you please clear this now once and for all? And it said, yes, we could do that, but we're not going to. And I'm like, why you got to be such a dick then? It's like,
Well, damn, I just think, yeah,
right. So like,
get
why
our
not?
hopes up.
Yes. And so I asked, why not? And then it said, well, she is in a marriage that is no longer serving her. And if there's no discomfort, then she would never leave. So we're
Mm.
going to keep a level of the discomfort. We're going to clear 50% of it. And then once she leaves the marriage, we'll take care of the rest. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, for me, like this really helped me to gain a perspective that all the things that are happening are really for us. It's not like
Mhm.
what I hear quite a bit in like spiritual circles, like kind of like self-blaming, like, oh, I must have created this, it must have been my fault, or it doesn't work like that. It's just
Mhm.
it's we come in as souls knowing what we are. When you look into a baby's eyes, you can see they are joy and wonder and connected and sourceness. And then the programming begins, you know deliberately, because that's what we came in to experience. But it shuts us off, or it fragments our sense of beingness, of light that we truly are. And so, and if the path of life is to regain a sense of awareness of who we truly are, then life is going to bring that to us, to our awareness. And oftentimes, because we're so distracted by all the noise around us, it's got to scream louder and louder to get our attention. And this often happens
Mm.
through crises, be it health or losses, financial stuff, because they cause us to feel so shitty that we do have to focus on what's happening in here to be in relationship with ourselves for the very first time. We can no longer coast along and numb ourselves out because it's too big of an experience. We have to check it. So like another woman who came in was experiencing breast cancer. This was really beautiful because it said the breast cancer is her friend because it forces her to stop overgiving, to place other people's needs over her own. And like breasts, you use them for nurturing, for giving to babies. So it was such a symbolic. Uh, it was so symbolic of this over nurturing that she was doing, that her higher self like gave her breast cancer to really force her to be with her own needs, physical, emotional, spiritual, to have boundaries, to be in her own space. And it said, yeah, we're going to heal it now, but if she falls off the wagon again and starts like putting her partner, kids, life over her own needs, then we're going to bring it back as a reminder. Yeah. So I mean,
Wow.
really, it's not like we're being cursed with these things. It's really ways, access points to our beingness and our sourceness and loving ourselves. That's what it
Right.
seems to be.
And I
Yeah.
love what you said about like, sometimes in the spiritual spaces, it's kind of like, well, you're creating this with your thoughts. And there's some truth to that, but it's more complex.
It's
There's
more
more
complex.
to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's sometimes it is, yeah, for them to learn something, for them to experience something, for them to push out of a situation, for them to move toward a situation. Sometimes these
Yes.
illnesses lead people to their purpose, lead them
Yes.
to the way that they're going to help people.
Right.
Sometimes, when the higher self kind of won't relieve symptoms or won't heal the person, it was kind of saying like, their condition actually makes them, experience the world in a certain way that then teaches
Yes.
others how to experience the world. So there's a lot of times with things that, are not able to be relieved, these symptoms, that it's like, no, actually, you're showing all these people around you how to live despite being in pain, despite
Definitely.
suffering. And you're an inspiration to all these
Yes.
people, So it, again, that perspective shift on something that maybe was like very difficult and will still continue maybe to be difficult, but a new set of eyes to look at it.
Yes.
So I want to
Exactly.
ask you the question that probably a lot of people ask you. Has Dolores Cannon ever come through in your sessions?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if she comes in, and she's always very affirming, both for my client and also like for me, like, hey, this is great work that you're doing. Yeah, she does. It's always wonderful. Sometimes it's just like, oh, Dolores is here, energy. Sometimes it's direct messages. Yeah, I can't remember any like mind blowing, like verbatim messages, but it's my memory. It's always very, very affirming,
Mm.
both for me and my clients. I mean, just like you, I'm not like fishing for it. Like, who else is
Right.
there? Anything for me? But when she comes in, I'm usually told that this is good work that you're doing. It's really, I mean, that's
Mhm.
always to be acknowledged by your elder is always wonderful. Yeah. What about
I love
you?
that. I have not yet. It has not happened yet. I'm excited for the day that it does, if it does. But yeah, no, I've definitely had, I always feel that every session, I'm so grateful that there is always something for me that is not actually for me. It's that person's message for them. That is what I needed to hear that day as well, or what
Yes.
a friend needed to hear, or a partner needed to hear. So that's like the real, like, not only is it a gift to help in that way, but
Yeah.
then you get this gift of the greatest wisdom from someone's higher self. And it's
So
a lot of
much.
times these simple things like self-love, stop judgment, stop
Yes.
judging yourself, enjoy life,
Yes.
childlike nature. But sometimes it's that
Yes.
reminder that you need that day.
Oh yes, for sure. I mean, yeah, I mean it's been such a um what's the word? Like an inoculation against like my own, internalized like negative self-talk and stuff, like to be in a space where that is daily like countered. Like, okay, yes, It never says like, yeah, you should definitely judge yourself more or put yourself last. You should totally self-sacrifice. Yeah, that's never happened.
Yeah.
Just stay in your office cubicle all day. Actually, you should work longer hours, eat more processed food, never go outside. I've never heard it say that. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of people's fear, is that maybe like some judgment or something scary will come through, and it's like it never does.
It
And
never does.
it's never going to be. Sometimes it can be harsh. Sometimes people who maybe haven't listened to their intuition or been shutting down their intuition for a time, sometimes their higher self can be a bit frustrated,
Yes.
but it's
Yeah.
still so loving and so supportive. It's just needing to be a little stern of like, well, now I've got you to listen.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
So I know that you have a group event coming up. So people who are looking to, is it for past lives?
Yes. Yeah. Or whatever comes in. So
Okay.
yes. Oh, thank you for mentioning that. So I'm trying to think when this comes out again. So
It's going to be on the 20th.
okay, of November. Okay,
Mhm.
so yeah, then I will have that's going to be virtual through Den Meditation. So join from anywhere in the world. It's a wonderful process of reconnecting with yourself through past lives or future lives or alternate lives, whatever you want to call it. It's a really fun space to hang out together with other people because people sometimes want to share their experiences. And so if you're sitting there thinking like, did I make it all up? Or this is really wild, I was an alien, then there might be somebody else there that has an even wilder experience or similar. I find it in groups is really fun. If there's people that know each other, oftentimes they go into lifetimes where they encounter each other.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so
Wow.
fun.
So sign up with a friend.
Yes, sign up with a friend. Yes, find out about it. Yeah, and
Right.
it's not just past life regression. We'll talk about what this means, how to place it in your life, what this means about you as a person or a soul in this lifetime, or like I try to elevate the thinking or to open up the thinking for people to want to spend more time with themselves or to really want to acknowledge them and their uniqueness and their authenticity. And that's really what I try to bring in the role because that's been my own journey.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I want to ask you one last question. What was the most unexpected thing that has come up in a session for you? Or just what comes to mind about unexpected?
Yes. It has been so much. God, there's so much. It's less. I'm less sort of thrown off by things now, but in the beginning, when in the beginning, it stands out more because it was just first time of these things. I remember. There's so many. Like this one alien being that was really with a robotic voice, and they were like kind of deliberating like what they were going to do with the brain of my client, like crank up the frequency, lower it, very specific. It was just like, what are you talking about? And then client later like telling me about like that she had these like sensations of like dropping in like gravity, and it was exactly what the alien being had described. Like they were cranking up the frequency so she could do the work she came here to do, but that there would be kind of like they didn't quite know what the consequences were. So that was really interesting. Like such a real consequence. You had these experiences afterwards. But then from my own sort of trusting this process and also knowing that people aren't making it up, I've spoken about this many times. It was my experience with Kathy Bird. It's a client of mine that's written a book about her experiences. She came in with this background of being a Christian, but her 2-year-old son, as soon as he could speak, started talking to her about being that he used to be a tall German baseball player. And so, in the beginning, she was like, well, this is great. She thought he was making it up or just imagination, but she's from, the LA area. So she would take him around. He had an interest in baseball, took him to the Dodger Stadium. This kid had a big meltdown when he saw this poster of Babe Ruth, some legendary American baseball player, said that this is a really bad guy, really mean. So stuff like that would happen that would peer into the fact that there was more going on than just the imagination. one of her more woo-woo friends had already done a session with me and kind of nudged her, like, go see this Dutch guy over in Eagle Rock, which is where I was at the time. And so she came in with this like crazy story. And this was kind of at the beginning of my career. And so, I was like, I don't know this lady. Like, is she making this up? Is this just like some kind of ego boost? So in her session, I was really deliberately asking about lots of trivia information that she couldn't have researched to see if we would hit a wall or she couldn't make it up or confabulate it. Because we did end up exploring her lifetime as Christina Gehrig, Lou Gehrig's mom. She was his mom in that past lifetime, and now again, they were together again.
Wow.
And so she was able to have such detailed recall of like the most trivial things. And she came back 2 more times and would go back into the same lifetime. And that is very unique. That has not happened to me since. But she would explore different periods of it. And I asked her higher self, like, why are we doing this? Like, why go into this one particular lifetime with such detail? And it told me that she was to like mine the regression experience for these trivial details that she could go and fact check with living descendants and relatives of the Gehrig family, that she would write a book about it, and that this book would be accessible to a larger part of the population because it would have baseball, but also this level of like verifiability to it. Like I asked her things that she couldn't have made up, and she would even know like the German nicknames of her family members. Like I asked her, like one of the important days, we found her walking over this like grassy knoll, is that what you call it? Where cars were parked, and it was the parking lot of the old Yankee Stadium in New York. And so here I go, like, what can I ask her about? And I'm like, what, you're watching a game. Are you having any snacks? And she goes, yes, we're having like warm nuts. And I'm thinking, this must be like burnt peanuts. So I asked her, is this like peanuts? And she goes, no, I think it's like chestnuts. And she's from Agoura Hills, from Southern California. I'd never even seen a chestnut. And then I asked her, what are you drinking? And she goes, oh, we're having a cola. And she's American born. What American born person would refer to a Coke as a cola? So even like other cultural sort of context would bleed into the way that she was talking about it. And she did. She went to the East Coast, found these descendants and relatives, and everything like down to the little necklace that she described was like a golden bird with a diamond eye. And it was to which daughter it was given, at all matched, like everything to the T. And so she did. She wrote a book about it. It's called The Boy Who Knew Too Much. I have it here.
Wow.
She won the Hay House writing contest, and Halle Berry's production company is trying to make a movie out of it. So
Oh, wow. Incredible.
hopefully that happens. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that
Oh my
was,
gosh.
of
That
course,
is so
super big hit.
cool. I'm glad that we got
Yes.
into that. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, there's other lifetimes where people go into like, they come out of it and you go Google it and oh my God, it's there, but it's not like, a big sort of recent historical figure.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. And I'm
So
going to
fun.
link below where people can sign up for the event. And
Nice. So is
the
that the
date?
event you're talking about? So I do have a special event for listeners of your amazing podcast.
Oh,
That's what you were
cool.
referring to. So this is going to be like a promotional cost. It's very low priced, and you will also get a free, like my voice, like guiding you through how to connect to your higher self, and a discount on a personal session if you want to come see me in Los Angeles. I'm in the Valley. So that all is for your special listeners. So that link will be in the show notes, right?
Oh my God, yes. Okay,
Yes.
so exciting. Thank you so much for coming on and us getting to connect and talk
I
and
know.
sharing your incredible insights.
I
And
hope to run into you like in person at one of our, woo-woo disclosure
right, maybe
fest
Conscious
or
Life
one of
Expo.
those, or Conscious Live Expo. Yes,
Right.
that'd be nice.
Okay, well, thank you so much for doing this, and I so appreciate it. And like I said, in the notes will be all of those offerings and events, and also, a special thing for doing a session in person in LA.
Yes, look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me. It was so
Thank
fun seeing you
you.
again. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Ultraminds with JK Ultra, where every Thursday we come out with a new interview interviewing some of the greatest minds in spirituality, consciousness, aliens, conspiracies, astrology, and so much more. And make sure you check out my Tuesday Night Live every Tuesday night, where I do a live stream and we do a Q&A and we go a deep dive into topics like the simulation theory, shadow work, spiritual bypassing, spiritual gurus turned cult leaders, aliens, my own experiences, and so much more. So make sure you subscribe, put on notifications, and if you would like to support my work, you can also become a subscriber to my Substack, which is $11 a month at jennifercarmody.substack.com. And once a month for our paid subscribers, we do a live event where we do a group hypnosis, a group meditation, or a group manifestation exercise. And thank you so much. Make sure that you subscribe, comment, do all the things, all the YouTube stuff.